Yeah, even though he might not be a OG, throwing some Yuma in there perhaps on the Morphling. He everybody's got the Morphling notch on their
His
belt
essay
to
now.
his essay now, exactly. Even though I'm really sad, everybody was picking Magnus Carey for so long, even though it made no sense, and then everybody just fell off the boat. It really makes me want to cry a little bit. But I do think, like you said, there are some bans that you do need to do with this first phase Morphling, and honestly, Morphling versus Storm is a little bit scary, just because we know how fast Storm Spirit does his damage. If you get caught in a vortex, you can just die. I feel like that's where I'd love to see Infamous perhaps take out the DK, just any instant stun that Infinity could pick up that would just kill you straight out. I do also respect the Faceless Void Band, though. That's well, quite a bit larger than a Dragon Tail, but also a very easy stun onto the Morphling that just kind of takes you out of the game. Also, is something that Lumiere has done many, many times, proven himself many times, and they also banned that last game, so kind of makes sense. But I just hope Infamous have changed enough things in their draft that are going to secure them as nicely as that Medusa did. And you don't really need to secure a Medusa all that much nowadays, but it still feels like this Morphling might be a little bit too fragile in certain situations. Just hope they're going to be set up just as well as they were before.
That is going to be the key. That's part of the reason why Infamous won that first game, is because Parker was protected, powered, and Parker just bulldozed their way to a win. So that isn't to say that Infamous have to basically say, Parker, save us. I mean, we've seen Alone and Oscar put together some pretty solid stuff themselves. They're more than capable leading this team in its current configuration to a win, but you have drafted a Morphling. You are expecting certain things from that Morphling. So see not just how well they protect it, but now how Infinity look to tackle it is okay. That's not really a Morphling specific play. They'll just take the Bane for themselves, and why not? It's been kind of one of the bells of the ball here in this event, with pretty much every team in every region grab.
Yep, it's a battle of the Banes. Not the most exciting hero. What's funny? It's been so long that Bane has just been such a great hero. Remember when we used to see like Silencer come out, like the immediate like you pick Snapfire, you pick Bane, we get Silencer. That here just doesn't exist anymore. It's a darn shame. Even though that's not the most exciting hero, nobody casting their spells is never a really great idea in concept. I'm not gonna lie, but that's something that I think Infamous might be thinking to themselves right now. I mean, that's the OG silencer. I remember praising that guy's silencer so much back in the day. But at the same time, I would love to see something a little bit from the sideline coming out here, but they didn't ban the Hoodwink. They banned out the Mirana instead. Michael always gets a respect ban somewhere along the line here, and I do think maybe more of a reason why they banned out that Hoodwink last time around, just because, well, there was the Timber Saw in the game, so that kind of makes more sense for what they ended up going for on Infinity's side. But man's a beast. Man's always super obnoxious, and even though this isn't your Fisher, your Boundless Strike from the Fog that typically you want to see versus a Spirit Hero, the Bushwhack can certainly cause some problems. If anything, almost forces out a secondary zip. So many times when we've seen the Storm versus the Hoodwink, it's always trying to break that tree at the last second, making sure you don't get caught by that Bushwhack. And in some cases, it messes you up. It messes up your rhythm for the team fight because you want to dodge the stun, and in some cases, you just end up using a little bit too much mana. It's where maybe the Coddle is going to make him move past that timing a little bit more. But the Clockwork versus Coddle and Bane, great hero. Always going to be able to get on that back line. Always going to be looking for that back line. And in lanes, it's really hard to deal with this Clockwork. I wonder, should probably just see A take it up, but it's where constantly this Keeper of Light is just going to be hounded. He's going to be ran around. He's not going to be able to do his job. It's that mirror style of support play where this clock is just going to try and shut everything you try to do.
Yeah, the last time we saw the Clockwork, it was the Jubei attempt at it, I believe, and that maybe wasn't the greatest showcase of this hero's potential, just because in that instance TMM were kind of playing from behind pretty quick. Whereas this time around, maybe Infamous will have a little bit more to work with. A is going to probably find those angles with a little bit more consistency here as well. So we should see, as you said, that sort of constant potential pressure that the clock can apply to heroes in the backline who, if you have to use your own defensive measures to protect yourself, then you're going to leave heroes like the Storm Spirit very much vulnerable on the front.
Yeah, at the same time, you'd want a natural force staff buyer, and
Oh,
okay,
something's going
that's
down.
different. Something definitely is going down, and well, It's Snapfire versus Mars. That's cool. Cookie over the wall. That's always nifty. Snapfire versus Clockwork. Get out of the cogs. You do end up getting pushed back at least once. Snapfire Coddle, though. Infinity are just gonna spam Parker so hard in this lane. This is gonna be such an annoying lane for the Morphling, but at the end of the day, that's not your typical offlaner. That's not your hero that's really gonna be setting up for your mid lane as much. I'm a little bit nervous, honestly, for Infinity. Every single time got to highlight Thunder Awaken in Sacred, you would always have the Snapfire with a melee 4 coming in front of you, whether it's the Ember, the Tusk, just anyone that can take that aggression from the 5, and you're really lacking that in this lane. If it does end up being the Coddle Snapfire, just a little bit weird. Still like the hero, still love the hero for what it does and what it adds to you, especially versus Mars. It's really obnoxious, something that Oscar's going to have to deal with in this game. I just wonder if Infinity have enough backbone right now, because it does feel like right now you can kind of just get run through. Not to mention, a lot of bands now are going to fall at the feet of Lumiere, where, again, you picked up your carry in the Morphling for Parker, don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, and I totally get that concern that you were sort of talking about. If the snaps at the 3, the storm's mid, as we're sort of expecting, then you don't you don't have a front line. Snapfire's not tanky. Storm Spirit's going to be zipping, and your final pick has to be Lumiere's hero. So unless they're looking for something like maybe a Wraith King or a CK that's going to be a little bit beefier, then be severely lacking in durability. And now all of a sudden we go back to Infamous's supports, the Clock and the Hoodwink. We were talking about them potentially being able to go directly on the backline and avoid those frontline heroes. There aren't any frontline heroes, so it makes their job even easier.
Yeah, and oh wow, it's actually Infinity that banned up the DK. And I think that is going to be the concern right now. If Infamous do pick another really strong, really beefy hero, well, are Infinity going to have enough damage? Of course, having Storm Coddle, you think to yourself, well, that's unlimited damage, right? That's unlimited mana. That's something that's going to be able to be tangible in this game. At the same time, though, versus these strength cores, we've seen the Storm Spirit struggle a little bit. Not in really the burst damage or how much damage he has, but how fast he does it. I'm just worried that if Infamous pick up another very beefy core here, then suddenly Infinity, they need to hit the kisses. There's going to be the Snapfire looking for you. In the same vein we talk about Mirana, this Clockwork is constantly going to be hounding on that backline. And if you are standing still, which both Bane and Snapfire do, well, maybe you force the Clockwork to choose, but I don't think that's the situation you necessarily want to be in here. And they do need a mid laner here for Infamous, unless they do switch that Mars over towards the mid. But Flesh, it is not really set up at all. Not set up as nearly as much as what we've seen from other Leshes in the tournament, but well, that's your team fight. That's your easy way onto the towers. Not the hero I expected Infamous to pick, though.
Yeah, it's a little unexpected, I guess would have to be the word, because it can still realistically work out okay for them. You just have concerns with the Lesh. If he goes in and gets caught, then your damage is going to be not really all that relevant. So we'll see what they do with that. We'll see now what the play is from Infinity as well. We talked about maybe the Wraith King or something like the CK for them if they want Lumiere on that tankier option. They band away, and yep, it will be the CK. So that will technically do a little bit to ease some of those concerns, but overall, ET, you haven't done away with them entirely.
Yeah, no, there's still a lot of gaps to fill, and there is this monster in Parker where if he does kind of get a free time, it is not the worst matchup in the world, but it's where Bloomier is going to be looking for items like the Blink, like the Armlet, like the BKB, where Parker is Manta Scotty. Manta, Scotty, Ags, Ethblade, it's those types of items where he might look for a BKB later down the line, and I almost want PP to maybe look at the Orchid, which is kind of a taboo for the Storm Spirit because you do just want those nulls in that Kaya, or even a BKB, just so you don't have to worry about the spear in this game. But anything that's going to slow down this Morphling is going to be incredibly important. If you could take out that core, then all the pressure is going to be up to Alone and Oscar, and Alone and Oscar are very killable in this game. And I think that's where the Leshrac, it's a hero that draws versus the Storm Spirit. He's going to be able to go up on those really, I guess, the tier ones very early. But at the same time, if you ever overstep your bounds, if Infamous get characteristically too aggressive and punished, a very poor Leshrac, an Alone that is behind the 8 ball is certainly going to feel that much less effective. And you're playing versus the strength carry. This Leshrac is always going to be struggling for damage, especially versus Lumiere. It's really where if he can get on the backline, he's good. If he can't, then he's probably dead.
This will have to be the call for Infamous. And as you sort of alluded to, we talk about this a lot with this lineup, or with this team. The lineup here is slightly different, but still the same core. Want to play efficiently. You want to try and be a little bit greedy without sort of towing that line. Because as you said, if you do get too greedy, and if Parker sort of oversteps himself and ends up getting punished, then you go from high to low pretty damn fast.
Yeah, and double smoke. Love to see it. We'll see if we're going to see the vision placed in the mid lane early, or perhaps we see a battle of the cliffs. It seems like the typical rotation is the Dire team always tries to get on that Radiant ramp and cut them off from making it over there, but look at how many heroes are here. Alone?
Okay.
uh,
Alone's gonna get stunned. He made it back to his ramp. Will that be enough, though? Cookie Stun comes in. Illuminate flies through. Alone dropped low. Alone taken down. Prada. Some heads-up positioning there from the bait. He steps a little bit further forward than all of his teammates, and he was on the high ground to make sure that there was no miss on that final right.
And I noticed it. I saw what Alone was trying to do. He literally walked up towards the cliff, barely in vision of somebody who could have placed the ward on Infinity side, shift clicked the move back, added or gave the ward over to Oscar, who was still smoked, to make it look like he placed the. These mid game wards, it's. I don't know. The mind games are too much. We've gone past the point. So many first bloods over nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the mind games are great. It's nice to try and outthink your opponents. Just make sure you don't outthink yourself at the same time, because for all the fancy footwork there, Alone ends up going down and giving up first blood. That's barrier snipe. Prada will lose his there in the jungle, but well, they're not going to be too broken up over that, considering they got the first kill.
Yeah, and well, who cares? And at the end of the day, did end up going towards the Bane. I think that's where Prada's courier was probably coming out. Don't know if it got anything delivered to him because he's still sitting pretty hefty on the regen, but that's kind of just the way Prada likes to play. But I guess maybe Lumiere is not going to feel nearly that much pressure now.
Yeah, this CK is going to have a much easier time with a, with a Bane that brings a little bit more to the table. So, well, this is going to be the thing, though. Lumiere might have a slightly easier time, but Prada himself can still get bullied. This is very potentially aggressive duo working together with the Mars and the Hoodwink, so Prada's going to have to play it very carefully to this point, because if he gives up a few too many kills, then, well, we've seen what happens, right? When a Mars is able to make sort of maybe fast progress towards a Blink Dagger.
Yeah, and have to see. Michael is always so good at making those trades. He's a very obnoxious hero with a very good animation, but it's one of those heroes where you get a little bit too ahead of yourself, and Infinity have done a very nice job of killing these trees with the Quelling Blades, just kind of preemptively, but Michael always somehow finds his way into these early kills with these early trades going his way.
Here, not shy about using his mana early on here. Not even really using it to do much to Oscar, just stunning him up to secure extra last hit or a deny, something along those lines. So, well, we'll see if Lumiere maybe looks towards like Soul Ring later on, something along those lines. It's not queued up at the moment, so they just avoid it entirely, but kind of goes to show how this lane is going to play out for Infinity. They're really not looking for much aggression in terms of actually pursuing kills.
Yeah, just kind of boring. As we've seen a lot of these early laning stages honestly be, because everybody is just playing the waiting game. Everybody's waiting for their level 2s, level 3s, especially this bottom lane, where they're probably struggling at level 2, but yeah, whew, Alone. The Lightning Storm harass every Leshrac. They love doing this. They love feeling cool about it, but...
Uh-oh. Get the stun, and if he had more mana, had just a little bit more, he might have been able to pursue that kill, but does allow him to grab one of the runes. I think EP will still win the foot race to the second one. But your Leshrac can sort of keep this pressure on. If you can sort of burn through the Storm's regen quickly, then you are going to be able to farm really at an equivalent pace right now. EP has a slight advantage in terms of the last hits, but Alone's got 4 denies to sort of even.
Yeah, no, it all kind of works out here. Do need to be, I want to say, a little bit cautious, especially if you do have that level advantage on Alone. If he gets his level 6 before PP does, that Pulse Nova is a pretty brutal spell at those early levels, but it's also where if you miss the Splitter, well, who cares?
Yeah, I can't really do anything. Damaging the stun on that. So, not a whole lot going on there. Meanwhile, what is going on up top? A is just sort of keeping tabs on Genix, not really going to do too much to him aggressively. He's just going to go for the pull. They want this wave sort of pushing in. They want Parker to be able to just sit back and farm as much as he wants. And so far, he really has not been able to farm all that freely. He's sitting near the bottom among the core heroes, and Mariana's done a pretty solid job of just trying to get up in his face, maybe not consistently, but often enough to slow him down.
Yeah, and it's where very interestingly seeing Parker go for this ring of health. Wonder what the game plan is going to be, if it's just very casual or if he would like to greed out a little bit more. There's one thing that's not short in his lane, though. Lots of stick charges. Both the Coddle and the Snapfire really need to spend a lot of mana to get anything done, so that's nice.
Bottom lane, a little bit of an exchange there, and that's the first, I think, serious attempt we've seen from Oscar and Michael to find a kill. They're actually going to try for it again. They get the spear, but it doesn't actually latch onto a tree, so Prada walks away, and Michael, he was thinking about it, but didn't really have spells back up to pursue that any further. So you have pushed the Bane out of the lane. I suppose that is going to count as a bit of a benefit here, but Lumiere is still standing strong. He's going to go for the stun onto Michael. That forces out the Bushwhack and the spear just to keep him at arm's length, and, well, on the other side of the map, PP gets taken down. Alone finally does it. He came close the first time. Look at the tips. Oh boy, they're trying to get in his head a little bit there as Alone wins that 1v1.
Yeah, he wasn't even level 6 on the Lesh, you know? Love that from your mid laner, just getting a little bit greedy, and as we usually talk about with these lanes kind of in gridlock here as A makes attempts on Organic, no bottle refills, no real easy trades for you to make with your 4 position into refilling your Storm's bottle, so if PP is stuck on his lonesome, you don't get that free time, and that's unfortunate. I think Alone was maybe expecting a bottle refill from his Hoodwink there, but instead Michael kind of just trounces back onto bottom.
Well, I break up the rhythm a little bit, as Alone now has to take a trip back to the fountain. However, this could still work in his favor. He takes a trip back to the fountain. He's level 6. He's got the Pulse Nova, and he's got some TPs, so they could send him elsewhere on the map instead of just going straight... Never mind, he's going straight back mid, of course. Alone, he's still a bit of a greedy boy at heart. He wants the farm.
Yeah, unfortunately, PP was able to get his level 6 in the small camp, so not like he's going to be underneath too much threat, but 6 minutes. Let's see what happens. 5 heroes in the river. And bottom, regen for PP, and a kill onto Michael, it looks like. Needs to work for it a little bit more, but this should be his.
Able to pull him in. Alone, though, does make it a trade. Really a mirror play as he gets onto Genic in the west side jungle. He actually steals away some of that stack, too. That's going to hurt a little bit there. That was meant to get the Storm sort of up and over the hump past the Leshrac. Instead, Alone's lead increases. He's good 300 or 400 gold ahead of the Storm at this point.
Yeah, he's chilling. He's having a great time. He's doing the very interesting rush item choice-wise. We haven't seen this built up too much, but it feels like Leshrac is one of the few heroes that actually wants that Eternal Shroud rush, and we've certainly seen it, I think, a few times now. Usually, of course, paired with the IO, but I think by himself, going to want to be that tanky hero even more so, and looks like we're going to get a nice little team stacking here. And Oscar about to hit his level 6 as well. This could be a very well-timed rotation from the Leshrac here. They could get a really early kill if they're not careful. And Mariano, they would also take him as well, but okay, awkward.
Your kisses will go through, but the spear still comes out. The arena's going to be there, but the Nightmare is still going. Alone could not get woken up there. He is still going to try and make this happen, but look at that cookie play. It gets Lumiere out of the fight, so they'll turn their attention onto the Snapfire, punishing Mariano for that defensive play, but if you're Infinity, you made the most out of that situation. You're able to find the kill first, and you keep Lumiere safe.
Yeah, offlane for offlane, you know. What's the worst that could happen? At the very least, it just involves another core. Unfortunately, you don't see the same thing happening for PP, but he gets the mid lane, he gets the jungle, PP makes his own farm.
Prada, I want to be a little bit careful here as Oscar actually removes the Nightmare. Now they're going to just sort of swap it up a little bit so that Oscar can get in and push Lumiere back. So this fight, not really sure it's going to be a fight, although the Bushwhack is certainly going to, oh boy, going to help, but Oscar's got to hit that shot. Alone, though, coming in. Maybe he can clean up this mess, but Genek's moving over as well, and with the Illuminate, Infamous take a little bit of extra damage. Now they turn around for another Nightmare that's going to allow them to get hoodwinked, but PP wants the more valuable kill. He gets onto the high ground for Alone. They track him down. He's going to try... Yeah, try onto Oscar, but try is the operative word. Out of mana at that point, so... Infinity... That goes remarkably well. That was such a weird exchange. It just starts with a sort of casual back and forth between two in the jungle, and all of a sudden you got 6 heroes involved, and Infinity walk away with the 2 kills.
Yeah, well, the DD rune on Storm, not the most impactful rune, as there are 2 better ones, but that's the really one of the only ways that I think Alone could have died in that situation. Kind of unlucky, all things considered, but that's where we might see a little bit of a pause in the game here. I feel like Alone wants to get aggressive and start really changing the map here with these towers, but he's got stacks to farm, and if he goes a little bit too soon here, then you could see this Leshrac just kind of feed away his advantage. At the same time, waiting for Oscar's Blink Dagger is also going to be a large part of Infamous's game, whereas Infinity, they're pretty much in the same boat until those tomes are available. They don't get their free play until Prada has his level 6. He's able to get that Fiend's Grip out. Even though they do have the Mortimer Kisses, it's really just an issue with their draft. Not that much setup, even though the Nightmare, he needs someone else, though. That's where Pipa coming in here could be brutal on Oscar. And, yep.
They bring Lumiere, they bring PP, they bring Mariano, they throw everything they've got into it, and is going to net them a kill. Of course, at this point, we should draw some attention to the other side of the map here, where Parker has been, at this point, basically left alone. All this fighting that Infinity are trying to do in the mid and bottom lanes is working out for them. They've got double the kill count of their opponents, but the Morphling is going to be kind of left alone right now, and that ring is going to be turned into an early Lincoln's for him, as PP finds another kill, able to track down Michael in the river as they were trying to fight for the rune. So Parker's found a lot of farm, Alone's found a lot of farm, but if Infinity can keep this aggression going, and if they can start directing it towards some of those core heroes on the other side, things are going to start really falling their way.
Yeah, and, well, it is a little bit of a timing thing, and I do feel bad for Oscar right now because this is not your 10-minute, 700 gold away from Blink Dagger Mars. He really has gotten very little progress here, as well as just so many heroes on the Infinity side just constantly playing up on him. And Mariano, he's got a Blink. His Snapfire is super farmed. That's kind of crazy.
Barry's going to be bringing it out to him, and yeah, that's a little bit surprising. 61 last hits, the 3 assists, maybe bumping him up a little bit more than you would expect for this point, but he's looking pretty good. But now they are going to look to punish. That Snapfire's alone in the bottom lane. Unless they're going to go hunting. But get to Mariano. He's got the Blink Dagger delivered now, so he has a little bit of a way of jumping out of here, or maybe he doesn't. The Flare's going to connect, so that disables it for now, and they will be able to find the kill.
Nice. Very well played. It looked a little bit awkward because A was actually still waiting for the tome to get over to him. He's still not even level 6 once he does have that tome, but that's where Infamous could make themselves in a little bit of a groove here. They're going to have the hook shot, they're going to have the sharpshooter around the same time. They're definitely better at getting onto these objectives, and actually, on the collapse to the mid tower, I feel like Infamous have the better team fight, just having Oscar really being able to run in and kind of stop everything from happening. It's where they do have to kind of find their way onto the Keeper of the Light, but that's what your hook shot is for, and that's what A is going to look for. If he ever takes Genek off of the map, I feel like we just immediately see that Leshrac go for that play onto the tier 1 and Alone. Regen rune. Nice.
Let's top himself off if they find an opportunity, but there's a bit of a wraparound here from Infinity. It's just a 2-man rotation. PP and Prada looking to get over here, and oh, there's the hookshot. They connect onto Genek. They're going to try to keep him locked in place. A actually gets pushed out of his own cogs, and well, Infamous forgot about the part where they bring other heroes to the fight. That really was just A going in alone. He gets taken down. Michael gets sort of clipped there on the end as well, so both of the supports fall, and that is not the way you wanted to reveal your first hookshot of the game, but now Infamous have to sort of bring heroes over here. They can't let this tier 1 fall for free, but they're wary of the initiation because Infinity have basically everyone here as well.
Yeah, and PP is just kind of raring to go. He keeps on canceling his ball lightning, almost feigning having vision deeper than Infamous could be ready for. At the same time, they kind of hit all of their moments at the same time. Lumiere gets his armlet finished off. Mariano, of course, just had the more kisses back available to him. He just regroups, and that's where we haven't seen Infinity really make that decisive play just yet. But Infamous also have not really been pressing the issue all too much here. It's where I think, yet again, need to see the Blink Dagger from Oscar before we see them actually able to make that aggressive play onto really anyone. It's kind of a waiting game at this point, and I think down bot, Parker is able to finish off his Lincolns, which really only kind of helps out versus that Storm Spirit, and I think, of course, you need that versus the Storm Spirit, otherwise that Vortex is just a killer. But that's also where, unfortunately for PP, he does not have anything else to pop said Lincolns. He didn't go for the Orca like I wanted, but mid?
There, they cut the Storm, they get the Spear. That's a
Oh.
nice little two-man. Oh, man, that's beautiful. Initiation onto PP works exactly the way that they wanted. They push him back, then forward with the Spear, and... well, that's the play that they needed. Now they can try to push mid. Alone's going to come over. Max out Edict will act as the battering ram, and they're going to get some damage in. Not quite yet, though. The glyph is well-timed, but it was a nice play the first time around. Second time's maybe a little bit overly ambitious, so A does get taken down. Mariano tried to jump in mid with the cookie. Parker's able to jump away from it, but Oscar not nearly as fortunate. Lumiere's going to pull him in with the Reality Rift, and Infinity save their tower. They find 2 kills. They are immediately looking to push to the Roche Pit. They've got a few seconds left on this DD rune. They're going to try and sort of not even really sneak it in. They just waltz over, and Infamous can't really contest.
Yeah, and it's, well, not going to be the fastest Roche by any mean, but really think Infamous kind of overstepped their bounds there. And of course, without dislodging the Cotter from that mid tower, I feel like any attempt they make onto that high ground is just a little bit rough. But that's where the clockwork, all the way from the fountain. He's smoked in, he's TP'd in. They would need to find it. They used all their stuns. He could go for the steal.
He went in, he's there, he's got it! A hero play there as he steals the Aegis. Yeah, tip that man. He just pulled off an incredible move. He will immediately die for it, but no Aegis for you. Keeps it out of his opponent's hands. We always talk about the first Aegis not being, you know, a massive sort of momentum shifter, but you are going to be infinitely better off if you're Infamous with that Aegis not in anyone's hands on the Infinity side.
Yeah, it also just stops your game from really stalling out. Now, instead of being afraid of breaking a smoke onto the Storm Spirit, you can just throw everything at him and kill him like you did before. You don't need to be too afraid of anything else. And I really do think Infinity had enough time for someone else to grab it, but it's just getting a little bit too far ahead of yourselves, thinking, well, the Storm's going to take it, right? So it's not my job. Everybody really kind of walked away when that hook shot did connect. I do believe it only connected on the Storm Spirit, but that was also so well played from A. The smoke, dodging out the 2 supports that were looking for the TP in from the Shrine. Super low percentage play, but makes it work nonetheless.
And Michael able to get in here to sort of break up that smoke play as well. So, well, these supports were picked because of just how annoying and disruptive they can be, and up to that at the moment.
Yeah, Hoodwink's just always a pest. Very similar to 4 Monkey King, I want to say, where unless you are really aware of where that Hoodwink is, it just ruins so many of your movements. But as for Mariano, Tinker Ward, this would be a really sad way to lose him as, okay, reacts to the flare. That's a really tight reaction from Mariano, but I think very smart, because that's how they were going to disable his blink.
It's how they got him the first time around. The blink was first delivered to him, so Mariano sort of learning from that past mistake, blinks out preemptively. Meanwhile, mid, Parker is just going to chill, and Rado would have to hit him with the Nightmare first to sort of break that Lincoln's if they wanted to make a play, and, well, they didn't think they had that much time. They just let Parker go.
Yeah, I don't know if Infinity are all too happy with the way that this mid game is going, though. I feel like they're really not hitting on a lot of their kind of easy plays, their free plays, and you are, at the end of the day, farming versus a Morphling who is still top of the net worth here, hasn't died, hasn't participated in all too much of the game, but has not gotten picked off either as PP... Oh, he's going to give up on it. Oh, he thought he got juked.
Well, he kind of did, but
Oh,
only
A.
because he jukes himself. What are we doing, boys? A just comes back in, thinking the coast was clear. PP is not going to chase after him again, though, but... interesting plays from the Clockwork. Should have been dead maybe twice over there, but is going to continue to just sort of hold the line. He can take this creep aggro. Tier 2 tower's not going to take that much damage, and now does that open up an opportunity for Infamous? Because we haven't really seen much from them in terms of aggression for a little bit here, and right on cue, they're going to try and jump in onto Prada. Alone is coming in with the damage, needs to hit the stun, will do so, and got themselves a pretty quick kill, but there's going to be the response. Lumiere wants in, but the arena's dropped. The Spear Stun comes in. Mariano, though, is throwing out those kisses, so Alone does still die. PP actually able to get a quick second kill onto Michael. And I don't know if Infamous want to be here anymore, but they don't have much of a choice. A is going to go down first. Oscar is not getting out of here. The DOT will finish him off no matter what. Isgenic gets that kill, and all of a sudden, Parker's the lone survivor, and what do you know, ET? It is Bane sacrificed for another team fight win. It's just the theme of the day, theme of the group stage, really.
You know, the best part about that too is, you didn't even get to use the Fiend script. It's not like Prada is useless on the map. He just gets to kind of walk around. It's a big reason why we see the Banes always at like level 13, level 14 when the game ends, because they just die and then the team fight happens and then they don't get any of the XP from the kills. It's tough being a Bane player, man.
Yeah, but there's a reason why these teams try to prioritize killing him so quickly, right? If you don't, the Bane can wreak havoc on your whole lineup. So if you're Prada, you have that satisfaction. They have to go after me. They have to kill me quickly. If my team can then win a fight afterwards, then it's all good. And they're looking for another fight. They do get in onto A here. I'm not sure if they realized Parker was nearby. They should see him now, but well, they're going after other kills instead. PP zipped all the way down to the bottom lane, but with so many heroes here, this is going to get a little bit complicated.
Ooh.
It's Prada, that was a weird interaction. Prada's actually not dead yet. There we go. Oscar's able to finish it off, and now Mariano comes in, gets the scatter blast, gets the cookie. PP zips back in for the damage, and they have found themselves another kill, and they're going to look for even more. A's bot back, trying to regroup with his team, but I don't really know how much longer this fight's going to last. Lumiere's in here, but he has the BKB. He's going to try to TP out, but A with the buyback hits him with the hook, cancels that TP, and Parker's going to be able to find the kill. Double kill for your Morphling, and I mean, that one was chaotic is maybe an understatement there, but at the end of the day, Infinity lose 3, Infamous lose a couple. They have to buy back on A, but it's all going to be worthwhile with that Morphling now starting to take off a bit.
Yeah, no, that was perfect, and I feel like Lumiere, not expecting that clock to go for the buyback, but also losing track of where the clock was a little bit there, thought that the BKB TP would simply be enough, and you gotta be a little bit careful here with the Storm, and Parker, he's channeling the strength because he knows could very easily die to the Scatterblast, and does he get gripped? No, it's not available, so can he walk away? The Storm, I keep on looking at PP, he's looking for the Outpost TP, he'd love to find Parker here.
Zips in, Parker. Got off the strength shift again, so he's not going to be taken down easily. At this point, he may not be taken down at all. Alone's going to join the fight, throws down the stun, but that's a lot of heroes coming in onto Alone. They're all pretty low health, though, so they have to be careful themselves with their positioning. But now PP zips back in, gets the kill. Edict won't finish him off, but Oscar gets the arena into the spear stun. This fight refusing to end. As Genic's going to get caught out here as well. The bushwhack locks him down. Oscar picks up the double. And I believe that should now definitively be the end of it. But Parker, he lives. It does sort of suck that his teammate had to go down for him. And now Lumiere, what are you doing? Sort of wanders in. He pops the BKB, so he will try to fight. He'll get the kill onto Michael, but if he goes down in exchange, that's not worthwhile. Prada, oh boy. Losing cohesion here. He got the Fiend's grip for about a half a second before he realized I have 0 backup. But by that point, it's too late. Now you've just used your ult and been taken down as well. Mariano now gets pinned to the racks. ET, what am I watching? What's happening?
It's just no respect for Parker. I don't know. They're so desperate for trying to kill this Morphling. It's just not a great look here. And then look at that. He Lincoln's Oscar. He gives no opening to PP. He starts strength. I mean, this guy is just a monster. This guy is sick.
Incredible plays from Infamous, but plays that they shouldn't have been able to make. I think you sort of hit the nail on the head there. They just didn't show respect to Parker. They went on to him one time. Alone had to sacrifice himself to make sure the Morphling lives, and I think at that point Infinity just assumed they would be able to get similar fights if they tried it again, and as we clearly see from the results of those engagements, that wasn't the case. Parker just gets a massive influx of gold there. He's got the Scotty finished off now, so the Morphling already farms up just fine. You don't really need to help him out by giving him extra kills.
And I do wonder what we will see Parker go for. Really a lot of items that he could look at, but that's where smoke up from Infinity. trying to get some of that agency back in this game. Still very reliant on Mariano in PP finding the jump. And Michael, oh,
Look at Oscar. He got the spear into Lumiere. That is a fantastic target for them. They'll actually just take him down immediately. Lumiere dead. Mariano gone as well. PP's going to try to zip forward, but he really can't do much more than just get that one kill. He's able to find it, but now he's got to go. Zips as far as he can. TP's out. Oscar, good instinct, just not the best aim, but they got the team fight win. Sacrifice Michael. You get 2 core kills. Roshan is not going to cooperate, though. 30 seconds out on the respawn, but Infamous turn another fight, and if you're Infinity, some of these initiations are a little bit questionable, and if you're losing fights like this against this opposing lineup, it feels like they're just kind of digging their own graves right now.
yeah, no, this is going to continue to really be a struggle, and, well, how does Infinity get back into the game? You need to look at their item timings, you need to look at what they can actually do. I think the biggest thing they could change right now, I just feel like the CK needs a blink. I feel like we need Lumiere to actually get in there and find his own target. I feel like he's really waiting behind his teammates a little bit too much right now, and in doing so, he gets caught just in between, and that's also just a fantastic blink from Oscar, but I feel like if he is a little bit more self-reliant, he isn't getting caught on these entrances, because very simply, he's just running in, expecting his teammates to land, and in a very high-tense situation like that, you're not always going to hit, and in doing so, I feel like the CK has really just kind of fallen off the horse. He is really starting to feel behind here, and at the same time, it's a nice big smoke. They want any pick into the pit, and if Infamous can get Parker and Aegis, I mean, that is game blown wide open, and Parker's going to start it.
Okay. Won't go for the pick at all. They realize at this point, if our opponents are this far away on the smoke gank, then they're not going to be able to get over in time to contest this. They have a ward right here on the ramp as well, just in case, so free and clear to really take this one. Parker gets the Aegis, who takes the shard. There it is. Leshrek's going to pick it up. So Alone has the split earth upgrade. You got 2 lives on your Morphling, and it is go time for Infamous.
Yeah, there's really no reason for them to not go right now. And Parker did very simply just decide to go for the Manta style, which makes sense. Keeps you that just super heavy farmer. Keeps you head and above right there with the CK. I, again, still really think we need to see some Blink Dagger, some other form of initiation. Because really, the cores are the only ones getting farmed on Infinity. We're not seeing Genic, even though Genic's had a very clean game up until this point. And that Spirit Vessel has been so important for those early stages. Not seeing that same item progression coming any further. He's really been having to work behind his cores a lot of the game, just running around, trying to accelerate everyone else. But in doing so, you've really kind of fallen behind on the Coddle. And then you look over at PP, who greeted out not your 3 nulls into BKB build that we've seen so many Storms at this tournament already go for. And now looks like he's got to turn around for the Orchid. I just feel like it's going to be a little too late when it comes to that item. And look, 2 cores not in the base. We're going to take your tier 3. We've got a Leshrac. We do not care.
Yep. Tier 3 is already gone. They're going to go for the melee racks first. They've got the split earths here being thrown out preemptively just in case Infinity do try to push forward. And there's going to be the push. He does go past. He goes past everything, actually. Zips all the way out and then all the way back in. But that doesn't really do much. Still get the melee racks. And then they walk away. Really no reason for them to stick around much longer. Don't want to risk it for the ranged racks being the only thing left. And your Infinity, now is when it starts to get concerning. Because at this point, any lost team fight is going to be right back into your own base for a second or third lane of racks taken. So the room for error just dramatically decreased. And we have got to get some perfect execution here.
And look at the jump in the mid lane. Good ward.
That's not perfect execution. That's Mariano getting in trouble. He's able to pop the BKB, though, so they'll turn around. But Oscar, look at this arena. He's caught out 3. They're just going to jump straight in. They take down Prada first. They're in on Genic as well. Both the supports are dead. They're going to look for even more. Mariano tried to channel out those kisses, but Mariano's not the target. They want Lumiere, and they've got him. He's just not tanky in the slightest. It just didn't matter. Oscar, meanwhile, just running circles around Mariano inside of the base while Parker tracks down another kill. PP will fall. The tier 2 tower is exposed. And Oscar finishes off the full 5-man wipe by just going all the way in onto that Snapfire. So the fight gets spread out and the fight's over. The game is over. Infinity have had enough. They call it there.
Yeah, it really kind of an anticlimactic end, but it was too clean. And And Infamous, do not 2-0 Infamous, or at least don't be the team that follows it, because this was
Right.
just a very, very different team. And Infamous, we always talk about them in these Pro Series, always able to turn it around come playoff stage. Playoff Infamous is very different from group stage Infamous, but at the same time, this was a turnaround. This was a complete 180. I think everybody really started feeling the heat after those pretty bad losses versus Wildcard, but I feel bad for Infinity, to be honest. They kind of just got worked on every angle. I think all the cylinders were really firing for Infamous here. At the same time, that's your top seed in Infinity going down in really dramatic fashion. Do not think even themselves were ready for that game.
They just get completely overrun there. And you take a look at the scoreboard, the stat lines still are not horrible for their two main cores. 11-5 for PP, 7-4 for Lumiere. The problem is, of those deaths, every time one of those deaths was occurring, Infamous were winning an entire team fight. These were not solo picks onto PP and Lumiere, they were team fight victories. And as you saw from the graph there, I'll bring it back up for a moment, it was a dramatic swing. You hit that, 22, 23-minute mark, and all of a sudden, Infamous are just running at you, and Infinity, as you said, weren't ready for it. And I think this Mariano 3 Snapfire is not the only culprit, but one of the main ones, because they just didn't have a front line to work with.
Yeah, and then Lumiere is the front line. Then you're really hoping Mariano hits every initiation, and then just simply the pressure was a little bit too much. And that's where heroes like the Timbersaw paired with that Storm Spirit feel so much better, because the Timbersaw runs in, he stays in the fight for so long. It just felt like Lumiere could not fill that same role of providing you that kind of confidence for that jump. And so much mana was spent, so much in that game by PP just looking for heroes to kill. How many times was he looking for Michael or A, or trying to kill the supports just very simply at the beginning of the fight? But he ends up using another 700-800 mana, and you'd think it doesn't matter because Genic is there right behind him. But unfortunately, when your Genic is getting cut off by a Morphling, a very angry, very farmed Morphling in between, there's just simply no room for you to play.
And that brings me to a very strange point, but I think one that still is worth sort of blah, 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 drawing attention to. There we got. You look at the support comparison here. We were talking about Michael and A wanting to bypass the front line and punish the supports. That did not happen. 1-4 for Prada, 1-3 here for Genic. They were not pressured up too much, but that did not matter. You didn't need pressure on those supports, because when Michael and Affliction went in, they sacrificed themselves, but they created the openings for the cores to then get into those fights. We saw it so often. One of those two supports just kind of blows themselves up, but Parker alone and Oscar jump in. Oscar's arenas were so massive in all of these team fights, and at that point, Prada and Genic can just do whatever they want because you find the higher value targets.
Yeah, and as we always talk about, it's not just the initial jump; it's the jump in between, it's the counter initiation. Oscar never really skipped a beat, man. It's such a stark contrast compared to game one of their games today in the Sand King, where every single time it felt like he's half step. The initiation's already happened. There's just not much you could do at that point. You're really working with the best you got. And this time, Oscar was just pinpoint every single time, especially on cores that have BKBs. It's not like Lumiere and Mariano can't react. It's just that they don't expect Oscar to find that angle. And I think really that's where Infinity, a team that was so far ahead in that early game, just kind of fell off real quick. You could say A started it all with the Aegis Seal.
But yeah, I mean, that's got to be really the difference making play, not necessarily for the impact that it had directly, but I think at that point, maybe just um, morale wise, because that was the point where Infinity's team fight in the subsequent engagements really started breaking down a little bit too much. Heroes were out of position, people were going in one at a time, so I think A kind of got in their heads a little bit with that steal.
Yeah. And I don't know if we're going to get an interview. It
Yeah, that
is
is,
late.
I am
It
desperately
is very,
stalling
very late.
trying to figure that.
Who knows? Maybe, maybe not, but probably not. We could probably just end it right here. But honestly, we've already been in the infamous house before. We got to talk to Alone. We got to see Parker kissing, slapping him, having a good time. And they're having a good time. Maybe after the wildcard series, things are a little bit quiet, but after the second series, they're going to be able to rest well tonight. Ending on a loss is never pretty in Dota. It's why some people just keep on pressing the Q button because they just don't want to end things the way it ruins your sleep. Honestly, people swear by it. You just can't. Not something feels wrong if you end on an L. But it's where infamous they have that luxury. Infinity, not so lucky.
Yeah, Infinity, a little bit of a strange one. As we said, they came into this as the second seed, and you suffer a maybe unexpected 0-2 loss to one of your regional rivals. They do still sit pretty high up there in the standings, so I'm sure they're not too much sleep over. But they do fall behind wildcard a little bit, and now all of a sudden Infamous are starting to make their way up a little bit. But I do believe that we're going to be skipping an interview here, so we'll be shutting things down at this point. It's been a long day. It's like midnight, 1 in the morning or something for the Infamous players, so I perfectly understand them not wanting to do a post-series interview with us, and they don't have. But that is going to do it for BTS Pro Series 11 today. We will be back tomorrow noon, same start time, 1 p.m. Pacific, so hope you join us. But before we go, ET, any last thoughts on today's games?
Uh, none whatsoever. But make sure to tune into those DPC regional finals. There's so much good Dota that happens in the middle of the night when I'm not awake, or if I am awake, I don't want to be awake. It's great. Love this, man. More Storms for real. Let's go. Let's go.
If you are a night owl or insomniac, whichever one you call yourself, yeah, check that out. Chinese Dota. We got Southeast Asia Dota going on as well. Let's not forget to shout out our own boys here casting the SEA side of this event. So that should be coming your way well. So check that out if you're still awake. If not, come back and watch more NA and SA Dota with us tomorrow afternoon. So thank you all again. We're going to be hopping on out of here. For myself and ET, our production manager Nina, and Badger, our admin, thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow.